Hey guys, welcome back to the Roman Roads YouTube channel. I'm Roman.
And I'm Rhodes.
And this normally would be a Roman's review. We're talking about the Solo movie, but we're doing things a little differently today. Got Rhodes here with me.
Yo.
And we're going to do kind of like a first impression a review of what we thought, and then we're going to go straight into spoilers. So what was your
my take on it?
Your take on it.
First off, big apologies to our cameraman who did want to see it, and we reviewed this before we started recording, and he got the spoilers. But that was his fault. I liked it. It was an enjoyable film. Honestly, I'm not the biggest Star Wars, I need it to be this way fan.
Yeah.
It's just, to me, an enjoyable franchise. I like the cool space swords. They could tear the canon to bits for me, and I would dig it.
Okay.
They could give everybody a lightsaber, and I'd be happy. But I felt like it was a pretty solid origin story for Han Solo's character. He explained where he got a lot of his traits and his opinions on things.
Yeah.
And looked cool as heck. Honestly, visually, very good movie.
I agree with you on all those points. I kind of thought it was a middle of the road kind of movie,
Yeah.
Enjoyable, but not crazy enough to get upset over story choices or choices that the filmmakers made, but not bad enough to complain, but not good enough also to kind of blow my socks off.
I feel like there's I'm gonna look up somebody who's freaking out about it. They didn't do this one thing, and I'm so mad.
The one thing I can say is the biggest surprise for me was that the movie was well made and put together, and it wasn't a mess.
Because there was big complaints about them, changing directors, producers, actors, and it wasn't even that. That wasn't even really the case, was it?
No, because the guys who directed 2122 Jump Street and the Lego Movie, they were hired to direct the movie. In case you don't know what was going on, they filmed about 70% to 80% of the movie already, and then they were fired because of creative differences. I think the whole thing is that they come from a kind of improv background. And if you watch those other movies that they directed, you can kind of see,
Fantastic.
they let the actors kind of,
Play loosey-goosey.
do things, play loosey-goosey. And for those movies, it worked perfectly.
Yeah.
But I think Lucasfilm didn't want that as the end product for this movie.
Is Lucasfilm still involved?
Lucasfilm owns a company.
That's right. It's George Lucas isn't connected with the company.
Kathleen Kennedy is in charge of Lucasfilm.
Yeah.
But also, I think the big point of contention was that the writer of the Han Solo movie, Lawrence Kasdan, who's a great writer and filmmaker in his own right, he wrote Empire Strikes Back, or co-wrote Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi.
Oh.
He wrote Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Did not know this.
Other movies like Silverado, Grand Canyon.
Don't know them.
He directed it. We saw Grand Canyon once.
We did?
And yes.
Did I enjoy it?
You really enjoyed it.
Oh.
But that's like a dramatic movie, kind of, low-key movie. He does bring a lot of wit and charm to the stories that he writes. So I think that kind of script and that kind of story that he wanted to bring wasn't in line with the movie that the two guys who directed, Christopher Miller and
see that
I
because
can't remember their names for the life of me.
You wanted this story to be a cowboy movie, basically, because it's got to have high action, a decent amount of levity, but then also those heavy moments.
Yes.
And I could see where somebody with improv background, improv is usually predominantly comedy. And I can see how that would undercut some of the themes that they were trying to go with here, even though the movie did that, I think, on its own. But I can see that where there's a serious scene, and it would have been so easy to make an awesome joke. Especially...
So this is how I see the whole... Okay, so then they fired those two guys. They hired Ron Howard to come back and direct the movie, and he did a great job. I think the direction of this movie is really good.
Solid.
It's not a mess in the way that I can't tell, there's not tonal shifts. Tonally, it's solid throughout the movie. So I don't know if they kept footage that they shot prior.
So he did a great job of it. That guy is just a solid director.
He is a solid director. The thing is, I personally would have been much more excited to see a crazy version that those two guys directed. Okay. But also, I would have loved to see a Kasdan written and directed version. Because I know he would have brought a very different aesthetic to it.
I don't see why they don't do it. Because I don't care that there's already a Solo movie out. Do a Han movie too. I mean, let's just play fast and loose with everything. I don't care. As long as it's entertaining.
And so the thing, okay, so this movie didn't take any big risks.
Agreed.
There was no surprises besides one cameo that we'll talk about. That surprised me, but not in a yes way.
We're
talk
just
about
like,
it.
what? That was a possible tonal shift. It was like that was wedged in there,
Yeah.
pretty obtrusively.
But going back to like the older Star Wars movies, I thought that The Last Jedi was very risky,
Yeah.
but didn't pull it off.
Right.
Rogue One,
Yeah.
the first half for me was very plodding and slow
Mhm.
and somewhat repetitive. It was okay. The last half was very exciting.
Oh,
And once you get into
yeah.
the space battles and all
Straight.
that was pure excitement from once it started.
Yeah.
Solo is like the middle between the two halves of Rogue One, I
I
think.
see that.
So it doesn't get to the
because
great heights.
Rogue
and
One
of
is
excitement.
basically starts off as a spy movie and ends as a World War II movie.
Yes,
which
yes, yes.
It's honestly, if you just think of it as a straight World War II movie, like that thing of like espionage and then later big battles at the very end, fits perfectly.
Yes. So the excitement level in Solo didn't go as high as what I saw in the last half of Rogue One,
True.
but it was constantly entertaining,
Yeah.
more entertaining than the first half of Rogue One.
In fact, they had a battle scene on a planet, which a friend of ours, Chris,
Yeah.
had been wanting to from the Thanos review that you did.
Mhm.
If you want to check
The
that out,
Avengers review.
pretty good. Give it a look-sees. He'd been wanting to see, because you're always hearing about the battles that different parts of Star Wars, actually stormtroopers on the ground, and these are all regular people, stormtroopers.
The actual
and they're-
war of
yeah,
Star Wars.
and they're not in the white uniforms. They're in the different style where it's just like a helmet, and they have goggles that look like sort of the stormtrooper eyes, but it has a very World War II one
It's
vibe to
like
it,
if
like
you
they're
see
fighting in the
the-
mud. Rifles.
In Empire Strikes Back, the AT walkers.
Yeah.
The drivers. Have you noticed they have that
Yeah,
similar
yeah, they
uniform?
did.
Where it's like a
That's
uniform, but they don't have a mask.
True. Oh, quick side little note. It seems to me that they hint that the reason Han Solo's handgun is so powerful and seems to like wipe people out is because it was originally part of a rifle. And there's a scene where the guy who hands him the gun first takes apart the rifle. They're like I said, they're in war. They're all fighting with rifles, and he sort of dismantles it so it could be easier to cover. And I think he tossed it to him right then.
He tossed it to him.
Yeah, and that's why it's got a scope on it.
See, and that's what I think Kasdan brought as a writer is all those little details that worked, but overall it felt unnecessary.
They were basically, this movie, Solo, and Rogue One are plot hole movies for the original trilogy. 100%. Every time they're like, well, how did these guys meet? Why does it have a weird little scope on top? They're answering those questions. And Rogue One, they answer the question of the the defect of the Death Star. Exhaust pipe. It's like, that's ridiculous. It's like, but this movie explains it. And this one, it's the whole thing with parsecs and the Kessler run.
And even with the Millennium Falcon, how the Millennium Falcon is in the situation it is, the condition it is.
It looks like a normal ship, but they gotta explain it. It didn't need an explanation, but now you got it in case you wanted it.
It's backstory that doesn't need to be told, but it's well made.
It still is enjoyable to see it. Like, it's kind of fun to go. I felt like everybody in the theater was going, at like multiple points. Like, that's why the first time lots of. What is it? Not necessarily a cameo. I don't know. I had more of a callback. Or a call forward, technically, about Wookiees ripping arms off. What is that? I got debts to pay. Han shooting first.
Stuff that was references that were kind of like off the cuff references in the original trilogy.
Yeah,
it's like story points in this movie.
That's exactly it. The opening sequence is a pretty solid space car chase.
Yes, that was
really great, actually. The style of the hover car looked like American muscle car.
Yes.
Like some sort of twist between a Mustang and Impala, kind of.
Yeah.
Would that be it? And real solid work. Also, too,
it was very grounded in that way, so you could see it like
ironically not touching the ground.
Yeah. But so you could right away you weren't thinking about how is this working, why is this ship or this speeder going working. It's kind of like you're in the world. The world is there.
Everything has wires in it. No matter how future it is, they don't have like. I kind of want to give them credit for that. I know maybe it's a detraction, but it feels like everything's very analog. There's some Marauders in there that are super awesome. The bikes, it's speeders, right?
The speeders. Yeah.
In the original trilogy, they just zoomed along the ground. Now they can fly around, and we had an argument. I think they go into space. And that's why they have helmets on. You said, but they never show, like, how much powerful is that?
Yeah, where they fly off, you don't see where they fly off to.
Yeah. And it's like, I would make sense that they would have, like, a bigger ship to go to, but they never reference bigger ship.
Yeah.
Is that big a deal for you?
Not really.
I feel like the motivation. Do we jump into spoiler territory
Let's jump into spoilers.
Darth Maul was at the end.
Yes.
He has robot legs. He's played by the actor he was in the original, but
Ray
voiced
Park.
by the actor from the animated series and the
No,
video
for
games.
real?
For real.
He was voiced by
Isn't
the
that-
other
yeah,
guy?
isn't that weird? They Darth Vadered him, man.
Well,
They
no.
Darth Vadered
Peter
him.
Serafinowicz. I think I'm pronouncing his name right. He's an actor. He dubbed the voice in
I'm just going with what I was
Phantom
told
Menace.
by the nerds who care.
No, because that makes sense. Because the actor Ray Park, who plays Darth Maul, it wasn't his voice in Phantom Menace either.
Yeah.
So it was Peter Serafinowicz. He's been in a whole bunch of movies. He's really funny. He's a really funny actor.
Yeah.
But he did the voice, so that makes sense. But they brought back the guy from Rebels.
Yeah. That's what I was told.
What's not Sam Witwer, is it?
I want to say yes because I don't care. I genuinely don't give a shit. Sorry.
I've seen these actors somewhere. But
Costuming.
Yes.
Now, the background characters in a scene where I love there's a giant ship where all these people in crazy costumes. It's their sort of their bar scene where they jump in and like look at this weird world, but it's not so much that everything is so strange, it's that everybody's so rich, which seems to be becoming a theme in it, that the rich people are bad. Was this some sort of classist reference?
like in the Last Jedi with the Canto Bites sequence.
Exactly. Did you feel the same? Because these guys are basically, stealing... The main plot point is the hyperfuel that helps them to do ridiculous stuff. You know, go to plaid speed and all that. And they're wearing these weird costumes on this mob boss's ship. And the ship looks freaking awesome. It's a little stupid, but that's what sort of makes it awesome. Like most things in Star Wars,
Well, they
the
called it a
stupid
yacht,
stuff is great.
right?
No, they did. They called it a yacht, which sort of threw me that they're using earthy terms, and we get back to that later, for weird stuff.
Yes.
But it's basically like the fin of a ship with like the bigger part at the top and the smaller part at the bottom, and you need an elevator to go up on it. But it's classy looking. It's got all the class, man. What do you think? Your thoughts on it? Too much? Too heavy? Too little? Too late?
I liked the costuming and stuff better than I did in Last Jedi.
Fair.
I did think that there was some stuff that was, even in Rogue One, that whole worm alien thing that does a mind wipe.
Yeah, weird.
And in this movie, at the beginning, Solo's working for Lady Proxima's her name.
Yeah,
this
cool
weird
name.
alien that comes out like the Calipitter from Alice in Wonderland.
They have an alien like that in one of the earlier ones, and I think it mumbled or said words, but this one full on talks to people.
It's like, I know you need the alienness of the aliens.
They're also vampires.
Different.
They're also.
Yes.
I felt like that was a way of everybody. All the aliens seem to be really sensitive to sunlight, which maybe that was just their way of like, instead of having to animate it, they just put a helmet on. Lots of helmets.
Yeah,
Helmet
but
City.
It seems it's right on the edge of being Star Wars weird and then just like weird for the weird's sake.
I think on.
So that's what I'm thinking.
Last
Maybe some of
Jedi.
those designs
Yeah.
were by the original directing duo.
I could see that because look at the Last Jedi, the weird scenes. I think they were weird because a lot of the crazy aliens were wearing way too human clothes, and like the casino that they were in just looked too normal.
Yes.
You know, which sort of threw it. And later you were referencing there's a card games are playing throughout the movie. You know why? Because Millennium Falcon, Lando, and it's a weird alien game, Sabacc, and. The card, I would have been fine if they just, showed cards and like, this means I'm winning. But they try to explain it a little bit and use poker terms for it, which just sort of makes it like, I don't know, it makes it more confusing somehow.
It makes it more weird because it's like, I would be more better. Because that was one thing with the dialogue, there's a lot of references to other planets and stuff.
Yeah.
And even like with Woody Harrelson's character, like he says some weird stuff because it's stuff in Star Wars, it didn't seem out of place. When they would use a reference, like use a word that we use in English for something like in the poker sequence or the Sabacc sequence. Yeah. It was like, I can relate to that too much. It doesn't seem Star Wars enough. Yeah,
like they were like talking about that card shouldn't have been played. He couldn't be holding something pokery. Yeah. I'm not familiar with it, but I'm familiar enough that when you threw it in the mix, I was like, that didn't go there. Yeah. Not at all. Yeah. And they use poker chips that are shaped like every crazy thing you could think of. There's square, triangle. There's one that looks like Saturn with a circle in the center. And that just doesn't make sense because you would think everybody would have uniform chips. And they clearly have chips on the casino planet.
Maybe that's a detail because they're all aliens and they have their own currency.
So it's their currency, not their actual chip. I could give you a little credit for that.
Maybe it's like they're playing for cash. So it's like just pay for whatever currency you have.
At first I could see, maybe it being, okay, these are all actually bits of tech or something, which would fit in there. But I'll give them alien currency being weird shaped. Honestly, it still looked cool. You know what? And me complaining about it means I was paying attention to it. So, maybe they won me there.
That's the thing with this movie. The pacing is enough where it's exciting, but it is kind of slow enough so you can kind of drink in the worlds.
Yeah,
I think if it was a little faster paced, some of this stuff that we're talking about would have flown by us.
Too much, yeah.
Yeah.
There's weird Wookiees in there. You see the introduction of Chewie working with Han, and later he meets some of his fellow Wookiees.
Yes.
They look weird as heck. They look like apes from was it Land of the
Land of
Lost?
the Lost.
But he was telling me it was a reference to another.
Well, I think somebody in another review said that it was a reference to the Star Wars Holiday Special,
Yeah.
where you see Chewie's family. He has a son named Lumpy.
That's
He
right.
has a dad. He has a
They all wearing
wife.
clothes too. If I'm not
Yeah, it
mistaken.
was very.
Like clearly, Chewie, why are you
That was
walking around
weird.
in the nudes?
I've only seen clips. I haven't seen the whole show. But other Wookiee characters did look strange. They didn't look like Chewbacca.
Yeah.
I know in Revenge of the Sith, when you go to Kashyyyk, the Wookiee planets, they seem more uniform and seem a lot
Yes,
more.
that's what
look
threw
like
it off.
Chewbacca.
Because they've already established that they look like him.
These Wookiees look like men in ape suits.
Oh, the original Planet of the Apes.
Yeah.
That's pretty much exactly what they look like, with the clothes off, orange, and they even had orange hair, so they look like the
Yes.
orangutan ones.
I mean, it could have been a thing like they were, because the whole situation is that they're taken captive and they're working.
They're slaves.
So they're slaves.
They're slaves.
So maybe it was like maybe they're malnourished or something. But that's like stuff that's what I'm saying.
You know what would've
we
been
don't need
hard-
to be thinking about
Hardcore.
why
They were
look
showing
funny.
to keep them in control because Wookiees are so big and strong.
Yes.
That it was, and they even reference that they say whenever they're processing the new slaves, that they clean them and clip them, and they're like, clip us how? And it could be a haircut. Maybe that was part of their way of like, they can't tell the Wookiees apart unless their faces are shaved, or it's a part of torture or something. And that could have made it like a little bit more intense. I would have dug that.
Yeah.
You know. And it does, honestly, people talk about like how the robots are a little bit weird and like awkward in a lot of them. It sort of gives a bit of an unintentional explanation. There's one robot, android, however, who's always about talking about robot rights.
L3, yeah.
L3. And at first it's
37.
played off as comedy, but it's like you could see how that could be an issue because throughout the whole Star Wars extended universe, they never reference, I don't believe, a machine uprising, which you could see being an issue.
Yeah.
I think. Throw it out there.
So what are the points that you have?
Main villain's scar makeup.
Yes.
He,
Paul Bettany plays, what's his name?
in the movie?
Yeah.
I don't know or care. He was good. He was a really bad guy. He gave that mob boss thing, but the scar makeup they gave him, because every bad guy in a Star Wars movie has to be scarred.
Has some
Very
kind of
bad.
facial deformity.
Yeah. And his, honestly, yeah, it looks like a deformity because it looks like stretch marks, not like scarring. So I'm wondering if like maybe he aborted a face hugger in his head.
Was it didn't make it clear if he was an alien and that's just the way his skin was?
Yeah.
Well, because he was human otherwise.
Except
that.
for he had glowy eyes, I swear, in one scene. And so I'm wondering, was that part of something too? Was that a Sith reference somehow? Because the eyes glowed red. It looked a bit Sithy to me. I don't know. There's a weird thing where they have him unnecessary, like, oh, would you like some of this weird space food? And then he goes and dips into some like red chunked up Jello and num-nums it.
Yeah.
Part of me would feel real bad if it's actually like fancy food and I'm just too poor to know what it is.
Here's one thing. Paul Bettany, his character's name is Dryden Voss.
Good name.
That's one thing, yeah, with Star Wars is you need like weird names. That is a good name,
that's
but not
somebody's
very
real name.
memorable. Not one that kind of sticks.
I bet you that's some Scandinavian dude's name.
Maybe.
Just solid. Like some nice Scandinavian guys like, but why? I'm good man.
Oh crap! I didn't know. Linda Hunt plays the voice of Lady Proxima, the alien at the beginning.
Oh, how is she
She's
not
good.
Edna Mode? She is not Edna Mode,
She's
the
not
director,
Edna
but it's
Mode.
like she should have been. Also, this actress, was it Erin Kellyman playing Enfrey?
Enfys Nest.
And
That's the other supposed villain in the movie.
Now it's spelled a different way, but it is pronounced Infant's Nest.
Enfys.
Infant's. Okay, that was a big thing for me. I wasn't sure what the heck they were saying.
Yeah.
Awesome reveal with her. That one I will not spoil.
You
You
just
wanna spoil?
spoiled it. Well, basically.
No, I didn't, because I said it was like
Well,
the
we're
name
in
is Infant's
spoilers.
Nest.
We're
I
in
didn't say.
spoilers.
Okay, so everybody's super aliening. Everybody you see has an alien helmet. She's one of the mercenaries where they all have alien helmets. They all take off their helmets at one point, revealing that they're the good guys. Ha 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 ha! I don't care, you didn't see it. And they're mostly human. Oh, including Willow.
Willow was
Those
yes,
names, man.
Warwick Davis.
Yeah,
He was
man,
in there.
solid voice too, man. I was so glad to see he's still really young looking.
Yeah.
Made me happy. This does get me excited.
Okay.
Lando, His portrayal. Thoughts?
So that's sort of the thing. Since we have the characters that were made famous by other actors, overall, I think Alden Ehrenreich's Han Solo and Donald Glover's Lando Calrissian, they did a solid job.
Solid.
And they do seem like younger versions of Han Solo and Lando Calrissian.
Minus the friendship.
Yes. Sometimes it kind of feels like this is kind of like Han Solo's junior adventures.
Yes.
Kind of like a kid's
When did it not feel like
version.
that, though? He was constantly being led. He never was like at the forefront. He was always being told by someone else what to do constantly.
He didn't seem like the main character sometimes.
And they made Lando seem much more like a con man than a smuggler.
Yes.
That makes sense. He was constantly on the edge, like messing with people and cheating at poker, lying about, being in possession of the Millennium Falcon. Just everything was a tall tale with him.
Mm-hmm.
And looked great. Honestly, that guy wore a cape like he wore the cape better, in my opinion, than...
The only thing with Lando that I have issue with was it seemed like they could have used him more. They could have done more.
Agreed. 100% agree. I thought, if I had a just true, I wanted this to be different moment, it was that there wasn't more of a buddy film with them.
Yes.
I was expecting that, but if nothing else,
I
another
think
spoiler,
that's the way it should have been made.
in the original trilogy, Lando Calrissian betrays, the good guys to Darth Vader and Sky City, and in this movie, I could see why.
Yeah.
Han ruins his life. Constantly. Yeah, man, he gets his love interest killed, L3,
Never. Well, yeah.
Yeah. No, yeah, he did.
His companion.
Because she wasn't into him. She was
wasn't into
his
him.
love interest, but he wasn't hers, was the point.
Yes.
It was an unrequited love. A friend zoning,
But see, that's the thing. It seemed like everybody had a love interest. Beckett played the Woody Harrelson character, which I thought was interesting. Thandie Newton plays Val, who's on the team of Beckett's team.
Yeah.
And they're a couple.
True.
But
Her hair looked freaking great. Her costume, I didn't think it would work the first few times I saw it, but it kind of fit with her personality.
Yes. See, that's the one thing. So the first half of the movie is you see Han Solo on
whatever weird planet he's from. They build spaceships there, thus
Corellia.
explaining why
Corellia.
he's so good of a pilot.
And so he's trying to go back to save his love interest, Kira, played by Emilia Clarke. I think she does a fantastic job as that character. Because
she acts it up. She really does. She borderline overacts, but she doesn't get there. It's good.
It's very good, solid, and a very... I know she does a lot of TV with Game of Thrones and some other projects. She did bring the right amount of... how would you say?
I don't know if it's like gravitas. Honestly,
gravitas,
she was almost wasted in that character. Because...
It feels like they're leaving stuff out for the next movie. So here's the thing, too.
The next one's going to be called Han.
Yeah. Or Han and Chewie.
Ooh.
That would be a good title. See, but that's the thing. It seems like there's good story points in this movie. But it seems like if they had stretched it out and made this more of a mini-series to kind of give stuff a little bit more air to breathe, maybe it would have been a little bit more solid. Because at first you see Han Solo, he meets up with Beckett, and he joins their team, and they're going to get some of that fuel. What was it called?
Hyperfuel.
Hyperfuel. And they do a job, and there's a whole train sequence where it's like a cowboy movie.
The quick thing too annoyed me a bit. The hyperfuel. So whenever they first get it in its raw form, it looks like the Venom symbiote, just black, moving around constantly. But when it's like in its purified form, it's a spiky bead. One spiky bead to fuel a ship, and the explosion. Whenever some of it goes off, which looked great, it looked beautiful, but it felt like it was too small considering how much supposedly went off.
That's true.
Am I wrong? Yes. Unless it's like it exploded, because the way it bubbled up looked weird. They would have been cool if they showed a bubble up here, boom, and then like out in space you see a random explosion. Like, oh yeah, because it's hyperspace fuel. It exploded into hyperspace.
That would have been more interesting. But like, I really love the interactions between Solo, Han, and the crew.
Oh yeah.
On the first half of the movie, and Jon Favreau voices that weird alien.
Yeah, the monkey alien spider.
Rio is his name.
He was cool.
He was cool. But it kind of seems like they waste those characters.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, see, that's the whole thing where it seemed like
wasted.
That would have been like 3 or 4 solid episodes of a miniseries with those characters, and kind of like Solo's adventures with them.
You know what it was? It was the CGI. That's why they killed him. I feel like you could feel who was going to get killed off by how difficult it was to have them on the scene.
Okay, do you think that because Solo's not going to die, Chewbacca's not going to die, that Lando's not going to die because they appear in the other movies, that it was kind of like, okay, to make the stakes high, we're going to kill off all these other characters that we just introduced.
Definitely. Like, that's what Rogue One did. They literally killed everybody, which was kind of intense. It was kind of intense. I feel like...
But this one didn't seem as intense.
Yeah, it wasn't. They didn't have it. Because you were expecting it now. Obi-Wan movie, whenever that one comes out, it's a perfect chance for them to just straight up kill the main character, replace him with a clone. Do it. I'd watch it.
That's what I would like to use.
Some
for them to do something
a twist in there that,
like that.
Something that changes the canon from the whole movie thing.
Yes.
Like, oh, now things make sense in a different way, and I dig it. What I like to.
I would love to see that. I wish Lucasfilm would do something crazy. I'd rather them just go crazy, but have a plan and have like a series of riders.
Have more lightsabers. Lightsabers are fun. Jedis aren't the only ones who need them.
No.
I mean, like, aren't they all dead? Should some be lying on the ground?
It was kind of pointless for Darth Maul to light his lightsaber though.
It really was. It's like, am I intimidating you?
The FaceTime hologram.
Like, watch this. It's like you wondered how your boss got all the scars. It works through holograms. It works through holograms. I'm a monster. Okay.
Right?
That would explain it. Every time he annoyed him, he just reached through the hologram. He's like, it's made of light. I forget.
Force lightsaber.
Burns. Considering how much, if they can teleport rain, from one part of the galaxy to the other, whenever on Last Jedi, whenever they were, force touching.
That's the thing that it's
the force is so undefined.
Exactly, and they're expanding things in ways that kind of don't make sense, and you kind of the whole thing was the Darth Maul too. The Darth Maul cameo
definitely
is that you kind of have to think where in the timeline does this take place?
Yeah, that throws everything off.
It throws you off because, like I said,
it made sense before he showed up, and then it's like I have no idea where to put him.
Because throughout the crowd, the audience that I saw with, Darth Maul pops up. I recognize him right away because you don't see him right away. You see his face right away. You see him from behind in a hologram, and then it's like everybody was kind of like, "Wait a minute, this is somebody important." And then you see him, and then everybody was kind of like, "Yes, Maul! Wait a minute, how does this make sense?"
He died very badly and obviously, and it's explained in another media that most of the people who were watching the movie didn't see.
I was like, cool, but wait a minute, let me think.
Is this good for everyone else?
How does this make sense? How does it fit into the larger universe? And I think other movies like the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Yeah.
How they do have references between each movie.
They do.
It's way easier to tell what the timeline is.
Because the movies are concurrent and they're like planned out.
Yes, exactly. And these movies, it kind of seems they're kind of jumping back and forth since the new trilogy, episode 7, 8, 9?
Don't care.
They take place way in the future. The Rogue One,
No,
Solo,
none of these take place in the future. It's still all a long, long time ago.
In the future of the other movies. It seems like these movies are within the timeline. Kind of you have to fit them in pieces. They should just like go way in the past, or right. It seems like it would make much more sense to make movies that take place after Return of the Jedi and before Force Awakens, because it'll be easier to kind of say.
It's funny because they're all character pieces except for Rogue One.
Yes.
They should do something Rogue One-esque where it's like, just give me a little bit of the plot and show me the crazy action where I don't know who's gonna live.
Mm-hmm.
Like have it, Admiral Akbar, like his tail getting up to there, and the last minute have him get sliced to death, and he's like, "Now I'm Admiral Akbar."
So that's the one thing I know they want to make an Obi-Wan movie. They announced a Boba Fett movie, but it just
I just realized too,
it's going to be confusing for most audience members.
The guy who says General Akbar, his race, if I'm not mistaken, were actually like super evil at one point
Calamari?
too. Yeah, so that could fit. Do that. They're called Calamari.
Lucasfilm, please make those movies.
Give us the excellence.
Is there anything in this movie that you downright did not like, or hated, or had some problem with?
I see them reloading constantly during the war scenes. I never see them run out of. But they never run out of ammo. Do they just know? I never once hear a click. I never see a counter. That's a bit of a thing.
That's a detail. Maybe that's something they do have to explain about how the blasters work.
Yeah,
because they're lasers, right?
And also do the hyperspace thing, because the fuel point. Well, was it the fuel? All right, these are going to clearly be made into other movies. So what I thought was a point, missed point, was clearly a plot hole. And as for truly, oh man, this I truly despise. Didn't care enough to
maybe
despise
in the
it.
way too they're trying to flesh out the universe more with like, okay, you need fuel for hyperspace or whatever. And even in Last Jedi, where they're running out of fuel.
Oh, okay.
Stuff that we're relating too much to.
Oh, yeah.
It's just complicating stuff too much. They should just not.
We didn't touch on a point.
It.
The Kessler run, 12. Oh yeah, did the Kessler run in 15 parsecs? 12. And the whole thing is like, okay, there's this weird cloud, and in order to get through it, you have to follow a direct path, which takes so long.
Yes, they go to Kessel, which is a spice mining planet.
Spice.
But it's covered in this weird
cloud. It's a nebula, right?
Nebula,
it's got like weird tentacle aliens
and
living
there's
there that need eyes.
one way to go in safely, and that's the Kessel run, right?
Exactly. And if you
get to the planet.
Get to there shorter, that means you took a non... protected route, because I'm guessing they had like these glowy, it looked like torches, like old school torches holding the cloud away.
Have you seen
otherwise there's shrapnel and stuff in there, so if you do it shorter, that means you did some wild crazy stuff.
But it's very dangerous because there's like weird aliens living
big giant Titanic void breathers, even though it's not a void if it's covered in gas. Where's the sun on that planet is the point I brought up. They land on the planet Kessel, I'm guessing.
Kessel, yeah.
And it's very bright. So bright that the vampire aliens need helmets. But they're clearly the only thing that's like in the void is the freaking planet.
It's like if you were to go to Jupiter. What's the planet that has all the gases?
Yeah.
Like if you were to go to the planet, there was no way for sunlight to get through.
Exactly.
Doesn't make sense. So I guess to wrap things up, I really liked the movie.
I did too.
It wasn't necessary. To be honest, when I went into the movie, at the beginning, I was sitting there waiting for the movie to start. I wasn't very excited. I was kind of like, I was like in a weird mood. Kind of like, I really don't want to, not so excited to see the movie, but I want to. After the movie was over, I was like, I'm glad I watched it. It was a good movie. It was a solid movie. It doesn't ruin Star Wars, but it doesn't add anything either, in my opinion.
Agreed.
As I was leaving, there was a couple, and the woman said, "That was fun," and I was like, "I agree with you. It was good. You could kind of nitpick at stuff that doesn't make sense.
It's fun.
Stuff that was too weird.
That's why I enjoyed it.
The acting overall was solid.
Yes,
Paul Bettany is great as the villain.
New Chewie's great.
Oh, and I guess that's one thing we didn't talk about was the whole how they introduced Chewie. That sequence when Han Solo, but Chewbacca, that he does more things in this movie that he does, I think, in Force Awakens and Last Jedi, where he was criminally underused.
Yeah.
And overall, the only thing is I would love to see more Star Wars movies that could use these characters, but not really a direct sequel to Solo.
They translated Wookiee, but only when a human spoke it.
Yes. Yeah,
if we're doing that, what's the point of anything?
There's stuff like that kind of doesn't make sense. But overall, the directing was solid. Ron Howard did a good job of pulling the movie together.
Thanks, Ron.
And there's some shots in the movie that I really loved.
Visually
even in the
beautiful.
In the opening speeder chase, there's a shot where it's like you're under the speeder following it, and it's very cinematic, but not necessary. If you're a big Star Wars fan, I think you'll like it. Maybe you'll love it. If you're not a Star Wars fan,
come out of this,
I think you'll be fine with it. And
you don't need to watch anything else. All the little nods to things, they're not heavy enough that you would have been like, oh man, thanks, I got so much more out of the movie because it was there. But
but anything else you want to add?
No, watch it, check it out. I liked the Marauder guys. Those are cool. I'm trying to picture what the video game of this would be.
See, I hope that the new TV, I know they're going to do a TV series.
Really?
So, yes. I would much rather see this world and kind of these characters, and even throwing in characters like Boba Fett and like Jabba the Hutt into a miniseries. I would love to watch that. As movies, I think it's unnecessary.
It definitely showed. These movies definitely get a lot grittier and sadder than the main Star Wars lines. They got more people dying. They got betrayals on the good sides and the bad sides. And you see like that there's some of the bad people have like families. You see that there's slavery, that there's orphan children, crime is rampant, and that even, sad as it is to say, the imperialists are even corruptible. For a little bit of that.
I think the only thing else I have to add was, what was I going to say? At a point. Oh, well, whenever they announced The Last Jedi, after I saw Rogue One, and I was expecting The Last Jedi, I was like all up for Rian Johnson directing The Last Jedi. And I said, I'm going to watch The Last Jedi, and that's going to be the perfect Star Wars movie for me. And afterward, I'm not really going to care about Star Wars either way. I'm not going to love it or I'm not going to hate it. I'm just going to not care. Pretty much true, except I didn't love The Last Jedi like I thought I was. And I really kind of don't care about Star Wars anymore. Mm-hmm. But as long as I keep
turning them out, I'm going to keep watching them.
I'm going to watch them. And I liked Solo. And I think I'm going to like everything that they come out afterward. Yeah. But it's not going to be as exciting as it should be.
Sure.
So, I mean, I give it a solid 6.5 out of 10 to give it a score.
It is almost funny to see how they have pretty decently big-name actors covered up in makeup and in throwaway roles, because Star Wars is the kind of movie that has a popularity to bring that in.
Yes.
Where you see, like, hey, I know that guy. What's he going to do? Nothing next? No, he's totally gone now? Okay. Fun. Yeah, if anybody's watching who could do this, cast us in Star Wars, sign us on as writers. We'd like to be involved.
Heck yeah, I would have been one of those weird aliens.
Yeah. I'd like to be one of the normal people, so I don't have to be in gross makeup. Give me what is it, like, give me one of those, like, weird baby prosthetics, like something weird comes out of me. I don't want things on my face. I want to be hot. I don't want to be hot.
Thanks for watching this review. We'll probably have some more reviews coming up soon. If you want, check out our non-spoiler and spoiler review of Avengers Infinity War. If you haven't seen it, our non-spoiler and spoiler reviews of Deadpool 2.
Yeah.
And also the YouTube Red series Cobra Kai. If you haven't seen it, watch the review. Watch that series. It's really good. Let us know what you think about these movies. And let us know if there's any other movies that you want us to review. I know maybe we're going to do reviews on Jurassic World 2.
Probably.
On
Jurassic World Part 2. Don't forget to like and share notifications, please. We appreciate it.
We appreciate it, yes. And let us know what else you want us to talk about. Thank you. Thank you for watching.